Hello, I'm Samantha Jolie. It's 4 o'clock and these are our top stories in Perth this afternoon. WA terror plot. A 20-year-old Bindoon man charged with planning a mass casualty event here in Perth. A Friday morning school run ends in family heartbreak. A teenage boy killed crossing the road in Warnbro. WA's road safety campaign in overdrive to keep motorists safe this long weekend. Residents on alert over a bushfire threat in Ellenbrook. And the new pool project's making a splash in our northern suburbs. We begin today with a disturbing story developing this afternoon. A 20-year-old man has been arrested and charged with serious terrorism offences. Officers from WA Police, Australian Federal Police and the Australian Security Intelligence Organisation raided a Bindoon property after investigating the man's online activities. He's now been charged with preparing an act of terrorism and possessing a prohibited weapon. Police allege the man was planning a mass casualty event.
So between January and February of this year, we received intelligence about some communications on an encrypted communications platform that indicated there was white supremacy ideology, anti-Muslim ideology, anti-Semitism, and quite frankly, abhorrent conversations about minorities and other races in this community. Because it was an encrypted platform, the Joint Counter-Terrorism team had to spend some time to identify who was using the handles that were observed on this platform. Yesterday afternoon, the team identified a 20-year-old male living in Bindoon. A search warrant by the State Security Investigation Group was executed, where we observed and have now seized firearms, imitation firearms, a ballistic vest, gas masks, lock-picking equipment. But most concerningly, there was a notebook. There was a notebook that outlined preparations for a terrorist attack at significant locations, including the WA Police Headquarters building, Parliament House, and places of Muslim faith in WA.
It will be alleged this person was motivated by a white supremacist ideology. I've been advised that there is no ongoing threat to the community. I want to sincerely thank the WA police officers who executed a search warrant and made the arrest as a result of intelligence received. Their actions have prevented an alleged act of terror in our city, to attack the heart of our democracy, to attack our freedom of religion, to attack those who keep us safe. Whatever our differences, we all have the right to go about our lives free from the fear of violence. I know this news will be upsetting for Western Australians. It comes on top of a very difficult few months, including the Bondi Beach massacre, the arrest of a Perth man for allegedly being in possession of terrorist propaganda, and the January 26 alleged bombing in Forest Place. The threats are real in our community. We must not let hate and division win. We must protect social cohesion in Western Australia.
A routine journey into school has instead ended in unthinkable tragedy. A 13-year-old boy has been killed crossing the road in Warnbro during the busy morning rush. Sam Haberland reports.
Good afternoon. Well, this tragic incident happened right here on Warnbro Sound Avenue at just around 8:30 this morning. 7 News understands the teenage boy had just got off the bus and was on his way to school. According to an eyewitness driving on the road at the same time, they saw the boy walk out onto the street and had hit the brakes, but a car further ahead had collided with him. It's understood other witnesses, some who were also on the bus, rushed to help, giving the boy CPR.
It happened all of a sudden. It was just a kid ran out and got hit by a car and it was fatal, and yeah, it was just quite sad, quite quick. I had to brake and then tried to help, but there was already people who knew CPR and first aid, so I just stayed back a bit.
His injuries were too critical and he passed away at the scene. Paramedics and emergency crews rushed to the area, redirecting traffic and providing aid to the distraught driver, the bus driver and other witnesses. 7 News also understands another minor crash happened shortly after on the other side of the road, with many drivers distracted and slowing down to see for themselves what had unfolded. This tragedy happened on a stretch where the speed limit is 70, sandwiched just in between 2 separate school zones on Warnbro Sound Avenue. And we'll bring you more on this situation tonight in 7 News at 6 o'clock.
A driver who has been fined by new AI cameras has new hope of a refund after the Road Safety Commission clarified the rules. As Rachel Tassica explains, the cameras aren't the only tactic being employed to keep our roads safe.
Good afternoon. Perth drivers are being warned to stay safe this long weekend with double demerits in place. Police warn they'll be out in force while the new AI cameras will be watching. It's been the worst start to the year for deaths on WA roads in more than a decade. Even still, the Road Safety Commissioner says the new safety cameras are working.
We've seen a 70% reduction in the rate of mobile phone and seatbelt offences over the last 12 months.
But police haven't noticed a difference.
We're not seeing significant reductions in the amount of people not using their phone or not wearing a seatbelt at the moment.
Zach and his wife have been hit with 5 fines in 3 weeks for wearing the seatbelt incorrectly. That's 20 demerit points and a fine of almost $3,000. They tried to contest 3 of those fines, but each time it was rejected. The Road Safety Commissioner today explained people in that same position can appeal and it should be successful. They must mention they've been hit with the same offence multiple times over a short period of time, and the additional infringements will then be wiped.
We're applying a bit of common sense leniency here. So the policy that we've adopted is the subsequent infringements up until the date that the first infringement's issued get wiped, and you only have to deal with 1. So you're on notice. Anything after that date, you should change your behaviour or you'll have the consequence.
In 7 News tonight at 6, we'll break down exactly how this works and what you need to know.
2 teenage schoolgirls who were struck by lightning in yesterday morning's wild summer storm have spoken out together for the first time since a shocking incident. The Perth grandfather, also hit by a freak lightning bolt, remains in hospital. Brianna Inferreira has the details.
Good afternoon. Michael Day has spent the night here at Fiona Stanley Hospital. His daughter today telling me her father is in good spirits. The powerful bolt from yesterday's violent storm left the 78-year-old with burns to his chest and leg, his clothes torn apart. His daughter's dog, Messi, the Groodle, who he had been walking in Hammersley, couldn't be saved. The retired bus driver's umbrella clearly shows the force of the lightning strike, along with burnt keys and an exploded phone, which were in his pocket. He wasn't the only victim of the sudden summer blast. In the hills, 2 schoolgirls, Georgia and Bailey, were rushed to hospital after also being hit by lightning.
And it literally was just a big flash out of nowhere, and then literally it's just straight something heavy on the head. Pretty traumatic, honestly. Like you hear this stuff happening in like movies, but you never would expect it to happen to you. It just felt like pressure, like on the middle of the head, and like something heavy had like dropped on, and then just like instant shivers all the way down, and just numb toes, like pins and needles everywhere. It's such a weird feeling, honestly.
The way I describe it is a million needles hitting my head and going through my whole body, and then just feeling your spine just shake, and then going completely numb in the feet and getting pins and needles all over your legs. It's just not a nice feeling.
In 7 News tonight at 6, more on the remarkable survival of these 3 people.
There was a close call for residents in Ellenbrook and Bullsbrook this afternoon when an out-of-control bushfire threatened homes. Residents were told to evacuate as crews battled strong winds. The blaze was downgraded to a watch and act alert a short time later. Commonwealth Bank has told police it may be the victim of a $1 billion home loan fraud. CommBank reportedly uncovered a number of plots where criminals hand in dodgy applications made using artificial intelligence. If these loans were in fact fraudulently obtained, it will be the largest fraud ever against an Australian bank. The latest round of negotiations between the US and Iran over Tehran's nuclear program have ended in yet another stalemate. Chief reporter Chris Reason is monitoring developments from Tel Aviv in Israel.
Good afternoon. Yeah, well, I wouldn't say diplomacy is dead, but it's difficult to see how the Americans could possibly be satisfied with the outcome of the talks in Geneva overnight. We saw some of the officials leaving the building there in Switzerland, the reports being that there had been significant progress made and even flagging another round of meetings next week in Vienna. But while the Omanis and the Iranian negotiators try to project this image of optimism and a breakthrough, there has been absolute silence from the Americans. Their negotiation team, Steve Witkoff and Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, are a long way from where the Americans wanted to be, which was a complete end to Iran's nuclear program. Here's the Iranian Foreign Minister.
On some issues, we have now become very close to an understanding. On certain other issues, we still have differences of opinion.
Now, all of this is happening, of course, against the backdrop of America assembling the greatest collection of military firepower in this region for some 20 years, since 2003. Overnight, the USS Gerald Ford, the aircraft carrier, its most modern and biggest in the American fleet, leaving from Crete to position itself here off the coastline of Israel. Also, we know that the Iranians are busily making preparations for war as well. The question here will be, will Donald Trump accept what the Iranian negotiators have had to offer and sell overnight? They are seasoned manipulators and long-time masters of negotiation. Will Donald Trump see through that, lose patience and decide he needs to take military action? Right now, the region here still remains very much on edge.
Thank you, Chris. Prince Harry has called on Israel to urgently open aid corridors to help the people of Gaza. The Duke of Sussex made the plea while on a trip to Jordan, but avoided any questions about his uncle, the former Prince Andrew.
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex received by fellow royalty. Jordanian Princess Ghida Talal, chair of this cancer centre. Stop one on the final day of their international trip, aiming to draw attention to refugees fleeing war in Syria and Gaza, where Prince Harry also placed a special focus on Israel and the plight of Palestinians.
The aid corridors need to be opened. They're currently not.
He was invited by the World Health Organization, an agency his Archwell Foundation has donated $280,000 to.
It was a really important time for us to collaborate and come here and shine a light and focus on the very real humanitarian catastrophe.
The plea from the Prince inadvertently outraging the Palestinian ambassador to the Ivory Coast. I am sad to see that our sick children are being used as props for celebrities in the middle of a full-blown public relations operation, writes the diplomat. Those same people completely ignored our suffering during the worst moments of the genocidal war in Gaza. There are few subjects as fraught as the war in Gaza, but for the Duke of Sussex, there is one apparently more sensitive. Prince Harry refusing to answer any questions on camera about his family, in particular his uncle, the former Prince Andrew. A topic he will have to face on his anticipated return to the UK this year. In London, Ben Downey, 7 News.
WA's main rail connection to the rest of the country is back on track. The vital freight link has reopened today, now that repair works near Port Augusta have been completed. The east-west rail corridor had been out of action for 5 days after flash flooding in South Australia. The Australian Rail Track Corporation says crews worked around the clock to fix the line so that services can now safely resume. Hundreds of millions of dollars is being spent on new pools for our northern suburbs as the area's population continues to boom. As Elizabeth Creasy reports, the facilities are considered some of the best in the country.
Well, this is just one of 3 new pools opening in our northern corridor over the next few years. Welcome relief for residents in the notoriously hot suburbs. The facility here at Arena Joondalup boasts 9 lanes and the very latest technology.
And we've got now one of the best pools in the nation here in Joondalup.
AI cameras linked to lifeguards' phones will keep swimmers safe, and automatic booms turn the 50-metre pool into 25 metres in just 15 seconds.
They've really listened to community feedback and especially swimmer feedback, and they've made the changes that they need to, and hopefully it provides a really good base, like you said, for swimmers to come up and perform well on the national and hopefully international stage.
Paralympic gold medalist Ben Popham grew up in these waters, perfecting his stroke over years in the old rundown facility.
Feels good. feels good to be back as well. It was a trip down memory lane.
The old pool was so bad, the $13 million in funding was fast-tracked. The project completed in 995 days.
To do a $13 million project in the state government in 995 days and have it open, and then already booked out for many, many carnivals, hundreds of swimmers coming back for the Arena Swim Club, to do that is pretty good.
And it's just the first of many cooling off our northern suburbs. The $65 million Alkimos Aquatic Centre due to open in November, plus construction of WA's first coastal pool is also underway at the new Ocean Reef Marina, due to be finished next year, while the $145 million Swan Active in Ellenbrook will also open in 2027.
When you look at WA, we know that swimming, in particular for young kids, teaching kids to swim, giving people the confidence to be in the water is something we're striving to do, to make sure everyone has some confidence being in the water.
Closer to the city, the new Wacker pool opens tomorrow. We'll have more on that in the news at 6.
This is 7's afternoon news. Coming up, a luxury car goes up in flames in our northern suburbs. Find out where next. Plus, the consumer watchdog takes aim at an insurance giant for ripping off customers. And why the Pope has asked priests to stop using AI.
As the nation missed the start of the news? You can start over on 7 Plus on selected devices, 7 News at 6, or when you start over on 7 Plus.
You're watching 7's 4 p.m. news live from Perth. Right now it's a sunny 31 degrees in the city, and the full forecast is coming up soon. Fire crews in our northern suburbs were busy first thing this morning after a car blaze in Madley. The Jaguar was engulfed by flames around 4:30 a.m. in the car park at the Kingsway Sporting Complex on Galway. It took firefighters about half an hour to extinguish the blaze. It's not clear if police are treating the fire as suspicious. 9 childcare centres that aren't up to scratch are at risk of being named and shamed by the federal government. The Education Department is cracking down after reports of child abuse and safety failures at some early learning centres. Authorities say they've reached out to the centres, but if they haven't made enough of an effort to correct their problems, they'll be outed nationally and forced to notify parents. One of Australia's biggest insurers is being sued over claims it misled tens of thousands of customers. ASIC says Budget Direct advertised big discounts but left many out of pocket.
Up to 30% off. That was the promise splashed across online ads seen by millions of Australians. But it's claimed thousands of Budget Direct customers never saw those savings due to a technical error that was never fixed. ASIC says doing something as simple as changing a residential address wiped out their online discount. It's claimed Budget Direct knew there was a bug in the system back in 2016, but did nothing about it. Then in 2023, it finally fessed up.
We allege that this misconduct denied tens of thousands of Australians millions of dollars in the discounts that they were promised. Now, we know that insurance is becoming increasingly unaffordable for many Australians, and that when people are choosing their insurance, discounts matter.
ASIC says in total the company failed to pass on $3.3 million in savings. Customers have since been reimbursed. In a statement to 7 News, Budget Direct apologises, saying it's invested more than $70 million in improvements to its systems and processes. But consumer groups warn there need to be tougher penalties to hold insurers to account.
Consumers are right to lose a bit of faith in the insurance industry based on this kind of widespread misconduct.
Our message to the industry is simple: you are on notice.
ASIC says the case forms part of a wider crackdown on misleading pricing as Australians grapple with rising cost of living pressures.
Pope Leo has asked priests to stop writing their homilies using artificial intelligence. In a discussion with the clergy, he said to give a true homily is to share faith, and AI will never be able to share faith. He also warned priests against seeking likes and followers on social media platforms like TikTok. Police and health authorities have taken their fight against vapes and illicit tobacco products to the Midwest. 13 stores have been targeted in a 2-day sting. Here's Asher Gibbon from 7 News Regional WA.
Thanks, Sam. The two-day blitz is putting shops selling these products on notice as tobacco laws tighten. Nearly 100,000 individual cigarettes, more than 800 vapes and 37 kilograms of loose tobacco have been seized by Department of Health officials in the Midwest. An asbestos-riddled house in Geraldton has been destroyed after an early morning fire. Flames engulfing the house, which neighbours say has been abandoned for more than a year. Police are investigating the cause. And a wheat belt clipper has won big at a national shearing competition. Bruce Rock's Ethan Harder taking out Oberon Quickshear's Open Division in a blinding 19.31 seconds.
Adrian Barich joins us now. The Eagles have added a waffle star to their squad, Barra.
They have, Sammy, yes. It's just a great story, and so wonderful to see. Milan Murdoch has finally got his chance. Plus, how's this stunt from Brodie Grundy, manipulating the new ruck rules? And an injury blow for the Aussie skipper in the series against India.
7 News, connecting you.
Good afternoon. After 7 years of playing in the waffle for East Fremantle, 25-year-old Milan Murdoch has finally bashed down the door at an AFL club and has signed with the West Coast Eagles. He's joined as an SSP selection after small forward Noah Long was placed on the inactive list. The 175-centimetre midfielder has won 3 best and fairest with the Sharks and 4 Simpson medals. The Eagles will reveal their team for Sunday's clash with Port Adelaide tomorrow, but Ruben Jimby's already been ruled out with a sore toe and Tim Kelly has hamstring tightness. Geelong is quietly confident Jeremy Cameron and Bailey Smith will be fit to face the Suns in their season opener next week, while one young defender heads into 2026 with a big chip on his shoulder.
Pre-season at the Cattery has sometimes resembled a recovery ward. Shannon Neal nursing a sore shin, Bailey Smith back running from a calf complaint, while Jeremy Cameron stayed indoors keen to get on the flight next week to the Gold Coast.
He's doing everything he can, that's kind of all I know. I see him, he's in the heaty at the moment doing some extra work, making sure his quad's good, so I think he will. He loves it, he's competitive, so he'll want to be out there.
A self-confessed disappointing season last year, Lawson Humphries says he's now in a better place mentally and physically.
Second half of last year, fatiguing and probably not as fit as what I would have liked to have been. So, obviously we've got such a strong back line and I kind of want to be the leader of that. For me to do that, I'm going to have to really up my game.
And he'll be joined in defence by Tanner Bruin this season, who didn't play at all last year, dragged through the courts and eventually cleared.
You can just see his energy and his enthusiasm for footy at the moment is so high, and it's great to see because obviously, like I say, it's been a tough year for him, and we're just so happy for him to be back.
Swans ruckman Brodie Grundy seems to have cracked the code on the new rules which prevent ruckmen from crossing the line in a centre bounce contest, winning a free in this incident last night.
It's probably one we didn't contemplate, but anyway, we'll have a look at it and see where we go. I'm probably glad he did it in the practice games rather than the home and away.
Tim Hipsley, 7 News.
There's been another injury blow for the Australian women's cricket team. New captain Sophie Molyneux will miss the rest of the series against India due to lower back pain. The Aussies had a scrappy start to the second one-dayer in Hobart today.
In the air, and it went to hand and it went down. It's Gardner out there. It went to the left hand, went to the carpet.
Ash Gardner finally broke India's 78-run opening stand. The Aussies chasing 252 to win. And South Africa booked its spot in the T20 World Cup semi-finals by thumping the West Indies by 9 wickets overnight. Co-hosts India hosted the second highest score in tournament history with 4 for 256 and a 71-run thumping of Zimbabwe. They'll now face the West Indies in a virtual knockout final on Monday. Australia's snowboard king Scotty James admits the pain of missing gold in Milano Cortina still burns. Our most decorated Winter Olympian returned to his old school in Melbourne this morning after winning silver in Italy. James is determined to finally complete the set of Olympic medals with gold in the Alps.
Burners are burning for sure. I've already started thinking about the next 4 years. Still feeling fresh and feeling like little kids here in the room mentally. So I look forward to the challenge.
James will be 35 when the 2030 French Alps Games begin. And at 6 o'clock, Sammy, we're going to hear from Milan Murdoch. He's absolutely over the moon. It's like dream come true. He's 25, thought it was over. Now he's in the AFL at the West Coast Eagles team.
Yeah, good on him. All right, we'll see you at 6. Thanks
Sammy.
Barra. And up next on 7's Afternoon News, Hillary Clinton unleashes on Donald Trump over the Epstein files. And a teen has to be rescued after a risky social media stunt. Hello, you're watching 7's Afternoon News live from Perth, and here are some of today's top stories. A 20-year-old man from Bindoon has been charged with serious terrorism offences. Police allege the man was planning a mass casualty event at WA Police Headquarters, State Parliament and places of Muslim worship. He has now been charged with preparing an act of terrorism and possessing a prohibited weapon. A 13-year-old boy has been killed crossing the road on his way to school in Warnbro this morning. It happened just before 8:30 on Warnbro Sound Avenue. Witnesses say the student had just got off the bus when he was hit by a passing car. The road was closed for nearly 4 hours as police investigators attended the scene. And there's been a close call for residents in Ellenbrook and Bullsbrook this afternoon when an out-of-control bushfire threatened homes. Residents were told to evacuate, but the blaze had been downgraded to a watch and act alert. We have a slightly cooler change on the way for our long weekend. I'll have your full forecast later this hour. Deposed as federal opposition leader, Susan Lee has now formally quit Parliament. Today's resignation marks the starting gun for the by-election to fill her seat. Tim Lester is following events from federal Parliament.
From the first woman to lead the federal Liberal Party, a statement today to say she has formally resigned from Parliament and won't be returning for next week's sitting here. Liberals, looking for any sign of bitterness from the leader they dumped just a fortnight ago, might notice a couple of lines. She welcomes the Coalition's immediate re-adoption of many of the directions and policies set during her 9 months in charge, and on her seat of Farrer. It has been held without exception by the Liberal Party for 60 years and the National Party for 17 years. Perhaps a message that her party cannot justify losing it, now that she set a potentially fierce by-election in motion in the New South Wales-Victoria border seat.
The Farrer by-election is going to be very, very tough.
Her successor today meeting members of Australia's Assyrian community, Assyrians famously forced to flee a decade ago as ISIS set up its murderous caliphate.
The scars that they carry are very real.
Now the opposition argues the Assyrians demonstrate why Australia's ISIS brides and their children should not be allowed home from Middle Eastern camps.
Where are these people going to live? Where are they going to go to school? Who are they going to be neighbours to?
For now, Angus Taylor's single-minded focus on the ISIS brides has served him well and helped put the party's leadership fight behind him. However, the Farrer by-election will be seen as an early test of his leadership and whether he has any hope of reviving the party's dire polling.
Hillary Clinton has launched a blistering attack on Donald Trump while she was being grilled over her alleged ties to Jeffrey Epstein. The former Secretary of State claims she had never met the convicted sex offender and did not know of his crimes. Our US correspondent Rob Scott has the details.
For months, US lawmakers on both sides of the political spectrum had been pushing to interview both the former First Lady and the former President about what they knew of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. And today, they got their chance. Hillary Clinton was the first to face the Congressional Committee in what was a closed-door hearing. The former Secretary of State telling the committee she never met Jeffrey Epstein, flew on his plane or visited his island homes or offices.
I never met Jeffrey Epstein, never had any connection or communication with him.
No one's accusing at this moment the Clintons of any wrongdoing, but we have a lot of questions.
Mrs. Clinton labelling the deposition a fishing expedition to distract attention from President Trump's actions and to cover them up.
We should depose the person that is mentioned in the Epstein files almost more than any other person next to Ghislaine Maxwell, and that's Donald Trump.
Democrats also demanding to know why documents detailing allegations that Donald Trump sexually assaulted a teenage girl in the 1980s were left out when millions of pages from the so-called Epstein files were made public.
The fact that they're not in the files and have been apparently either removed or discarded is incredibly concerning. And so we're calling on Attorney General Pam Bondi to immediately release those files.
We don't know the answer to that. We know what the administration says. We're still looking to get a definitive answer on that.
The Department of Justice says it's reviewing whether any files had been improperly withheld, but President Trump has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing. While Hillary Clinton's deposition today lasted 6 hours, her husband's tomorrow could be even longer, as it marks the first time in living memory that a former president has been called to testify before a congressional committee.
Now it's time to take a look at today's other global headlines. Here's our news wrap around the world in 80 seconds.
We begin in Mexico, where a surge in violence has forced the Diving World Cup to be cancelled. Cartel chaos has broken out in nearly a dozen states. World Aquatics said the safety of all athletes is their priority. Film star Shia LaBeouf has avoided jail time over an alleged assault in New Orleans, but ordered to return to rehab. The 39-year-old was charged with 2 counts of battery after fighting and shouting homophobic slurs during Mardi Gras. A SpaceX Dragon cargo capsule has undocked from the International Space Station after spending 6 months at the orbiting lab. The Dragon delivered supplies to astronauts and helped reboost the space station to keep it on track. The capsule is set to splash down in the Pacific Ocean tomorrow. Passengers around the world may soon be able to experience a taxi ride from the sky as Uber launches all-electric air taxis. It's designed for up to 4 passengers and flown by a commercial pilot. Once approved, it will launch in Dubai, New York, Los Angeles, the United Kingdom and Japan. And Arizona Zoo has welcomed a new baby pygmy hippo named Jelly Bean. She was born to mum Lollipop and dad Tootsie Roll. The zoo has described her as the happiest little hippo in the world. And that's your trip around the world in 80 seconds.
A teenage daredevil has been dramatically rescued from the top of a 30-metre high crane in Melbourne. The boy lost his nerve after his phone died, forcing him to drop a handwritten note for help.
Good afternoon. It was quite the rescue mission here in Melbourne's northeast overnight to rescue a teenage boy at the top of this 30-metre tall crane. The keen social media snapper climbed it around 8 o'clock last night to get some sunset shots. But then his phone went flat and his feet were wet and he didn't feel safe getting back down. A passerby called authorities. Police soon arrived here at Lower Heidelberg Road in Ivanhoe, along with firefighters from the High Angle Rescue Team. The 17-year-old even threw down handwritten letters to communicate that he was okay. He was brought back down around 10:30 p.m, where he was reunited with his family.
Well, I suppose, look, if he's young, he was adventurous, he wanted some photos, hopefully he's learned his lesson. And that's it.
It was an absolute light show down here, and turned out it was just a young kid. I saw him coming down the tower. You could see his sort of skinny little limbs.
Despite the significant resources used to bring the teenager to safety, police say there is no suggestion of charges at this stage.
Still to come this hour, scientists reveal the pros and cons of 2 weight loss pills. And our $1 coin gets a makeover. Can you spot the difference? See you after the break.
7 News, connecting you.
Its design is unmistakably Aussie, but now the dollar coin is getting an update. At first glance, you might not notice the change, but an extra kangaroo is being added to the mob of 5. The 6th roux hopping in to mark 6 decades of decimal currency.
It represents something significant. It reminds us that currency evolves alongside the nation.
The coin is entering circulation too, though the special design will only be minted in 2026. The Australian share market has edged higher to close out a strong week and month. James Tao from ING Bank has the details.
Good afternoon. It was another record session for the local share market, posting its third straight day of gains. The ASX 200 added 23 points, or just about 0.25%, marking its best monthly performance since May last year, with a 3.7% rise through February. Tech and commodity stocks led the charge higher today as Block, which owns Afterpay, surged 28% after announcing plans to cut 40% of its workforce, saying new AI tools will allow the company to operate more efficiently. But it was a different story for some of the nation's biggest retailers. Harvey Norman tumbled 9% after its half-year revenue and profit numbers fell short of expectations. Revenue lifted by 12% to $1.6 billion, and Coles slumped 7% with investors concerned its early second half supermarket growth is lagging behind its major rival in Woolies. And finally, the Aussie dollar has remained firm, buying 71.3 US cents.
A new daily weight loss pill for people with type 2 diabetes has outperformed oral medications currently on the market, according to a new study. But there's a catch. Our health editor, Jennifer Beshwati, has the details.
Yes, good afternoon. Well, this is a head-to-head comparison of two weight loss tablets, Wegovy, made by Novo Nordisk, and Orforglipron, made by Eli Lilly, the same company that manufactures Mounjaro. They tested them in more than 1,500 adults with type 2 diabetes across 5 countries and tracked them for a year. Researchers found people taking Orforglipron had bigger drops in average blood sugar levels. It also drove more weight loss. Participants started at roughly 97 kilos, and after 12 months, weight fell about 6 to 8% with Orforglipron compared to 4 to 5% on the oral semaglutide, so that's Wegovy. So potentially several extra kilos lost. However, the side effects on this new drug, Orforglipron, were worse compared to the Wegovy tablet. Gastro side effects like vomiting and diarrhea were more common and meant up to 10% of people in the trial actually stopped using them.
The high rate of discontinuation is actually really concerning. This trial shows there's great clinical benefits of these medicines, but for them to be realised, people need to be able to stay on them in the long term and keep using them. If people are having really high rates of gastrointestinal effects, that can limit the potential for the benefit of these medicines.
Now, this pill is still under regulatory review, so it's not the green light yet, and the company is still seeking approval for use in Australia.
Perth's 6 p.m. news is coming up with Susanna Carr. Sue, what's on the program?
Sam, we've got more details on that breaking news this afternoon that a young man, just 20 years old, has been charged with serious terrorism offences. Police say he was planning a mass casualty attack right here in Perth. At 6, full details on the disturbing items allegedly found in his Bindoon home. Also tonight, a Friday morning school run turns to family heartbreak. A 13-year-old boy killed crossing the road. Hear from witnesses who saw the tragedy unfold. Perth's lightning strike survivors speak out. Hear from both the schoolgirls talking together for the first time about their frightening storm ordeal, plus a boom in new pools for our northern suburbs, where you'll see new swim centres starting to make a splash, and planets on parade, how you can see a special celestial show in our night sky this weekend. All that and more tonight in 7 News at 6. Sam.
Thanks, Sue. We'll see you then. Some good news at last in Magna Sabansky's cancer battle. The actress and comedian has taken to social media to announce she has completed chemotherapy for her stage 4 blood cancer and is in remission.
Phew. Big relief. It's not a cure, but because I got a good remission, that hopefully means that I'll have, keep the cancer at bay for a good long time.
Magna says she has felt a tsunami of love from her followers, and she joked about the return of her hair, proving she isn't a natural blonde. We've got a cooler long weekend on the way. I'll have your full forecast coming up next.
7 News, connecting you.
Now, Fuel Watch. Perth's petrol prices brought to you by Fuel Watch and 7 News.
Checking the weather now, it was hotter than expected today. We had a sunny top of 35 degrees this afternoon. It got up to 39 degrees in Bullsbrook. Looking at the national forecast, a stormy 28 in Melbourne and Adelaide tomorrow. Rain for Sydney and Brisbane and cloudy in Hobart. Back to Perth, we're down to 17 tonight, then a mild top of 26 degrees to kick off the long weekend tomorrow. It will be cloudy and windy in the morning. 26 again on Sunday, our first official day of autumn. And for our Labor Day public holiday, sunny and 29 on Monday, warming up to 33 degrees for Tuesday, sunny and 34 on Wednesday, and hot next Thursday and Friday with tops of 35 degrees. And that's Perth's 4 p.m. news. I'm Samantha Jolly. Thanks for joining us this Friday afternoon. Stay with us for 7 News at 6 with Susanna Carr. The Chase Australia is next.